I think we're ready to roll. We've got a fantastic group of 52 on here right now. So welcome to our Ventura pre-broker tour meeting. I wish we could be out there touring with you guys, but I'm at least happy to see you here today. So as you know, we have in the month of January interviews of accomplished realtors and a chance to look into their business and get some insight of how they've built their business, how they keep it growing, keep it sustaining. And Blake Mashburn thankfully said yes when I asked him. So we are going to chat with Blake this morning, and let me add him. And I promised him we would be side by side and not have him by himself. So a little bit easier to chat with. So good morning, Blake.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm seeing you. Are you seeing me?
I see you.
Huh?
I see both of us.
Oh, okay. I just see you.
Okay. So
yeah.
Well, is that easier for you to be able to just see me? Or
oh no, it's fine. I can see myself up in the corner and accomplished realtors. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at Jana Scarborough. I mean, she's a legend. And so is Anita Polito. Are you kidding me?
Yes, we do have a few legends amongst us, don't we?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, very nice. So I gave you a few questions ahead of time, and
I haven't read them.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm going to shock you.
Let's just wing it.
So, Blake, how long have you been in the real estate business?
30 years.
Wow.
30 glorious years.
And how did you get started getting clients back in the beginning?
How did I get clients in the beginning? Well, probably like most everyone else, you know, you probably got your first listing and deals through your family and friends, I suspect. I think my first listing was my sister's home. And I think a first sale was a friend's house, or helping him to purchase. So working with the buyer. But yeah, predominantly back in the day, it was, you know, cold calling, door knocking, working with expireds and FSBOs, and a lot of teaching and training with Mike Ferry.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And these days, where do your clients come from?
Well, about 75% of my business now is referral, past clients, and sphere of influence, which is where, oops, let me turn my phone off, which is where you hope to get your business after you've been doing this as long as Janet and Anita and myself.
For sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It certainly makes it a nicer ride, right?
Yeah, it does. Because I used to, well, I tell a story, and if we have time, I'll tell you here.
Go for it.
Yeah, so you know, Mike Ferry, I trained a lot with him, used to go to his superstar retreats. And of course, he was advocating at the time, you know, getting rid of your desk, get rid of your chair, put in a counter with a mirror and a headset, and dial for dollars. And that is if you weren't door knocking, right, Janet? And and so that's what I did. And it was brutal, but it got me through the 90s, which were probably some of the worst real estate, was probably one of the worst real estate markets I've seen in my tenure. It was probably worse than 07, 08, and certainly worse than it is now. I mean, at the time, if you were to buy a toaster, they would give you a house for free. I used to carry an inventory of 30 to 35 listings at any given moment, and I'd be lucky if I could sell one a month. But anyways, Mike Ferry got me through those terrible 90s by door knocking and telemarketing and working expireds and for sale by owners, all of which, first-time home buyer, all of which new agents are probably going to have to do even now, right? And I used to laugh that he both saved my real estate career and almost killed it, because I thought, if I have to do this for 30 years, I need to find something else to do. And fortunately, I then met Craig Proctor up in Canada. You know Craig Proctor? Yeah. And so he was teaching more about, direct response marketing, right? So you put out an ad and you wait for someone to call you, and then, you follow up with them until you or they die. And so I was doing kind of a combination of both those things. And that's how I then started to build a book of business, which then, if you nurture that book of business over your 30 years, then you can get to a point where it's an easier ride, like you said, where you can count on, the majority of your business just coming from that book of business.
So speaking of nurturing that book of business, how often do you stay in touch with your clients?
So they get something of value or a mailer once a month. And that's pretty much all set up from the beginning of the year. I sit down with my associate and office wife, Lori Stern, who I couldn't do business without her support. So hi, Lori, thank you for everything over all these years. So we lay out our business plan for the year at the beginning of the year. So we just did that, last week or the week before, and we know exactly what needs to happen the rest of the year, and it's pretty much all on autopilot. And then, of course, in addition to that, they're getting a birthday card or a, clients that have done business with me this year or have referred me business in that calendar year. They get some sort of a significant, Christmas gift, whether it be a poinsettia or like a Christmas ornament, which is what we did this year. And then they're getting the birthday cards. They're getting a happy house anniversary. So sending out something just saying, it's been a year, another year since we last did business. And of course, all the time asking for, for referrals. And then in addition to that, I have a website where in the back end of that website, they're getting the auto drip campaigns as well, depending upon what kind of a client they are.
Okay, excellent. That sounds just super organized.
Yeah. And I don't telephone into my database. I don't like to receive telephone calls at home, and I don't want to disturb my clients that way either. And I've been told that probably if I were to call into my database, maybe I'd do a little more business, but that's not comfortable for me. And I don't want, if I'm not comfortable with it, I'm not going to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not comfortable with it, then it probably wouldn't come across comfortably, right?
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, all of us have to determine, what we're comfortable with in our own business and our business practices, and because if you're not, you're going to feel like I did when I was training under Mike Ferry, which was either I got to figure this out or I got to do something different. So do what works for you.
I believe authenticity is really key in our communication. So whatever our communications are with our clients, it should be authentic from the heart, and our style. It should be our particular style.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what people were attracted to in the beginning anyway, right? Was our style. So
yeah, that's right.
What works, right?
Yep.
So let me ask you this. What kind of daily habits do you have that help you in your business?
Well, I think just handling your business as if it's a business and not, something that you just kind of wing it, right? So like with myself, I have the habit of getting up. I've already done my yoga today. If I'm not doing yoga, I'm doing, some other sort of exercise. And having a breakfast, and then having a little alone time before I then go into the office. And I get into the office the very best I can at 9 a.m. And if I'm not there at 9, Lori is holding me accountable and will wish me a happy or good afternoon, rather, if I'm not in at 9 o'clock. So it's helpful to have someone there to hold you accountable. But then from there, it's just a matter of, in the morning, kind of catching up on telephone calls, text messages, emails that have come in maybe the late afternoon or the evening before, because I do turn off my phone and disconnect right around 6 o'clock. And then from there, it's just a matter of doing what prospecting I need to do. And then from there, showings, listing appointments, and then I'm generally home by about 5 o'clock.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So speaking of the 6 p.m. disconnect, how do you communicate that to your clients? How do you set up those boundaries with your clients?
Yeah, so boundaries are really important, and I'm glad you brought that up. So if any of you happen to call into my office, and if I don't answer, you're going to get a voicemail message that is rather lengthy, and some of you may have been subject to that already, if we've had any transactions. But it basically lays down what are my boundaries. It lets them know that I work Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5, and I am off, and I work Saturdays and Sundays by appointment only, that I'm off on Sundays and Mondays, that's family time, and that I'm not available, Mondays, and I'm not available. And if they're interested in reaching somebody in my absence, that they can call Lori. So the voicemail message on the phone, it really helps to set those boundaries. And I've actually received more pushback on that from realtors that are subject to having to listen to that message. But I've actually had some prospects say, you take time off to be with family and friends, you're the kind of realtor I want to work with. And so people have respect for that.
Yeah, and I think also when you are respecting your own time, then likewise a client will respect your time.
Yeah.
When you set up that framework, and then that also makes you attract the people that you want to work with that will respect that
Right.
time.
That's right.
I think it's a good cycle. The challenge of course is when you are starting out in the beginning, and we'll just take whatever business we can and we'll work all the time, and but eventually we figure out we burn out that way, and we need.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think even if you're new, you can set some boundaries. I mean, we all have to have time off with our family and our friends. Otherwise, it's not worth it, right?
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. So now you're 30 years in. I've asked this question of a few people. When did it start getting easier for you?
Well, so any of you that have been in the business as long as I have been, or maybe half as long even as I have been, you'll remember that I used to work with a business partner. And that was very good partnership for a lot of years. And then like a lot of partnerships, we saw fit to go our own separate ways. And that's when things really started to take off for me. So sometimes you just,
How many years in was that, Blake?
18 years. 18 years. So it was more like a divorce than just a business split up. But and it was scary for me because I had done real estate in a business partnership for that many years and never really done it on my own. And so when I realized finally that I needed to make that shift, first of all, I was really surprised at the lack of choices between the brokerages that I would have considered at that time. And like I said, when I finally landed where I landed, which was at Troop Real Estate at the time, I didn't know if I could do the business on my own, and I kind of went in there with my tail between my legs, and I just cut all my expenses, got just down to doing those daily practices, and just keeping it really simple, and just went to work, kind of put my head down and got at it. And that's when things really started to take off, interestingly. So I think it's important for all of us to keep in mind that, we all hate change, but we were talking about this before you came on. I mean, it's the one constant, right? And that's one of the things too, I think, that has allowed me the longevity in the business, is that you always are having to change in this business. And I mean, in the last year or two, we've really seen that, right? With the whole COVID thing, clear cooperation. And so you're always having to shuck and jive and move with the market. Like when we had, what, 07, when the market collapsed, I mean, it was like, what are you going to do, right? I mean, prior to that, like 04 or 05, 06, it was like, take a number and line up at the door, and let's, and you can look at 3 houses, and which one are you going to buy? And then all of a sudden, bam, it was like gone. And so at that point, what I started to do, and actually some of my most productive years were, 07, 08, 09, when home prices were depreciating and so many people were at the cusp of losing their homes. And so I shifted into doing short sales, and Lori helped me with those. She did all the grunt work. I did all the counseling, and we made a business of that. And of course, now we don't have those things, and so you shift into another direction, wherever the market's going, right?
Absolutely. I think it's so important to be able to pivot in this business and be able to be proactive rather than I remember 2007 and 8, and I remember I remember I used to have my own fax line in the office in addition to the fax line at the brokerage. Like, I was just spending money like water. And you get ahead of it. You start cutting what you need to cut. And I've actually personally continued that since then, of get lean every once in a while. Just take a look at all the expenses that you start accumulating and start cutting back.
Yeah. By the way, what's a fax? When I first got started the business at Prudential California Realty, I think it was called, down at 5 Points here in Ventura, I had to learn how to use a fax machine. I had never seen one. And of course, that's when, the paper would like curl up on you, and if you touched it, it got all over you. And then, a week later, all the ink had gone white, and and I'm looking at Janet, she remembers that too. But anyways, that's just a good example of having to change, right?
Well, and now I think a millennial would have a hard time knowing what a fax machine is and learning.
Yeah.
And speaking of running your business like a business, how do you keep track of the finances in your business? Do you have separate business accounts, or how do you do the money part?
So yeah, I do have, of course, a separate, business savings and checking accounts. And I just use Quicken. I don't have a team other than myself and Lori. So, and I've not ever seen fit to, hire that out to an accountant, like I heard you say last Thursday you had done. But it's pretty simple, really. And then everything that I have on my Quicken, it's just a matter of consolidating that. And I have a business checking or a business credit card rather, and I just provide all that to my accountant at the end of the year, and I end up paying a lot of money in taxes. Yeah.
Right. And let's fast forward to today and the market we're experiencing today.
Wow.
Multiple offers. So let's give some counsel or nuggets to everybody who's watching as a listing agent. What is important to you to see in offers, and how do we help agents get their offers accepted?
I don't know if anyone has any secrets, let me know, because I'm working with a number of buyers right now that, I mean, like I had to counsel a buyer last night because he was expressing that, you know, we've written offers on, I don't know, 3 or 4 homes and we haven't gotten it. And I was letting him know that, you know, it's not him, it's not me, it's not, you know, it's just the market is so challenging for buyers right now. And, you know, he's expressed that you know, it's not he that's so much stressed over, you know, over what's happened with his home search, but his wife. And so it puts a lot of pressure on us realtors, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's no secrets, right? I mean, it's just as large a down payment as you can scrape together, shorten the contingency timeframes, allow the seller to choose the service providers. I mean, there's a lot of buyers out there and buyers agents that are releasing the appraisal contingency, the inspection contingency. I don't particularly care for those things. I don't necessarily believe in them, but you know, I get it. So I wish I had some nuggets, but I really don't.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is just a difficult market we're in for buyers.
Yeah.
You just have, I think the counsel you're giving your client is good. You know, you got to keep plugging away at it. It's not you. It's hopefully enough homes will come in the market that everybody gets one eventually.
Right. Right.
I don't know about you, but I'm seeing a nice wave of homes coming on the market. So I'm hopeful that this will get a little bit easier in the coming quarter here.
I think it's going to, because I'm starting to have people contact me about, you know, getting their houses on the market. You know, but being that it's the first of the year and they're starting to prepare for getting their house on the market. So if that's any indication, hopefully, like you said, we'll start to see more inventory. Yeah, but it is a crazy market.
Yes, it is. So again, being in a unique market do you have any suggestions for a newer agent that's getting started right now? Since we can't do open houses and some of the typical things we would do in the beginning, do you have any recommendations?
Well, you know, I used to say to new agents that the best, this was way back when you would run a you know, newspaper ad, right? No one does that now, but you would maybe ask to borrow a listing from a listing agent in your brokerage, and to ask that listing agent to allow you to market the property for sale, however you're going to market it, and then you know, wait for your phone to ring, or wait for, you know, the response on Facebook or wherever you're marketing it, and then, you know, service those clients, right? So it's just, again, going back to the basics, but being willing to change. So you're not running the newspaper ad, you're not running the advertisement, the magazine, you're doing it probably on social media or the internet. And if you don't have that listing yourself, borrow it and market it. And then once you make a sale, then let everyone in your sphere of influence know that you sold that property and that you're available to help them and their family. The other thing I think is really important is you have got to have a database. If you don't have a database, you don't have a business. And the reason, you know, I have had the luxury of the success that I've had is because I have always had a database from the very beginning. And then you nurture that database. It's hard to be Fred Evans, right? A big fish in a big pond, right? But it's easy to be a big fish in a little pond, and your little pond is your database. Or it might be like Lori Rutledge, it may be your farm, you know? I mean, one of the mistakes I've made over my history in this business is that, you know, I followed Mike Ferry almost to a fault, where he almost killed my business and at the same time saved it. But also he used to train, don't work a geographic farm. And now in retrospect, I look back on that and I look at people that have a geographic farm, like, like Lori Rutledge or like Buki Berg, right? And that's the icing on the cake, right? So again, an opportunity to be a big fish in a little pond, however you're going to create that. And I think first and foremost, even before the geographic farm, is you want to create your own farm, which is your database.
Awesome. Those are excellent questions.
And as far as the database, it doesn't matter which one, as long as you'll use it, because the one I have, it's not even supported anymore. It is a clunker. I'm just hoping that it lasts as long as I do. But it works for me, and I'm able to, I'm able to use it, and it's not very efficient, but it works. And I remember when I first got started, it was and Janet will agree with this. Remember, we used to have like index cards in an index file, right? And you'd move them to the back as you contacted them. So however you're going to put your database together, do it. And I'm going to share something with all of you that is worth $1 million, if not more, before we get done with this. So don't let me get off this Zoom meeting without sharing that.
I have my pen ready.
Yeah. And it has everything to do with your database, by the way.
Yeah. So, well, and I think, my next question was going to be, what would you suggest for agents that are already been in the business for a while and maybe want to bump it up to the next level? But frankly, I think everything you just said applies to both newer and established folks, unless you have something else that you would add on that.
No, I think, I think if you want to bump it up a bit, look to increase your price point. And that sounds a little selfish, maybe, because it's all about the client, right? But sometimes, you can serve a different clientele and still be of as much service and make more money. And sometimes it's just a matter of your deciding that you want to start working in a different price point. And then somehow or other, the universe seems to provide that.
Yeah, I think when you are focused on something, then you start noticing those. When you're focused on a price point, you start noticing the price point, or you start talking to people about the price point. You get more intentional in your app. So
that's right.
I think that's fantastic advice. Yeah.
That advice came from Bob Harrison when I first went over to Troop Real Estate.
Another legend.
Yeah. He said, you're working your tail off here. You're doing a lot of transactions, but you're not making a lot of money. And he said, you and I need to figure out how to increase your price point. And so, like you said, it just became intentional. And candidly, I have kind of moved away from that, which has been a mistake in the last maybe year or two. So it's as easy to fall out of that intention as it is to fall into it. Yeah.
Thank you for being so open. It's refreshing for sure. So audience, any other questions you want me to ask Blake? I want to type it in the chat room. He's here. Given the elixir to tell the truth. Oh, my mom actually wants to know, what is the $1 million tip?
Yeah. So I was contacted maybe a year or two ago by somebody that said to me, it was another agent, and that agent was very eloquent and very complimentary, and said, I know you've been in the business a long time, and I suspect maybe you're considering retirement, And would you ever consider handing off your business, your book of business? And I said, I'm not sure how to do that. And he introduced me to a book, and I want you all to write this down and Google it and buy it and read it. It's a simple read. You can probably read it in 2 days. It's called The Golden Handoff.
Okay. Is there anything?
Yeah. So it's all about, it's written, it's the only book that I have ever seen or discovered that is written specifically as to how, you can hand your book of business off to another agent and receive a residual income, or rather, how an adopting agent can approach those agents that are at a place where I am, where we are considering retirement. So imagine, rather than going out there and door knocking or telemarketing or working expireds or for sale by owners, or chasing buyers when with that buyer you might have to write 5 or 10 offers before you finally get a deal. Imagine instead watching, first of all, reading this book, because there's a method to this. It's not just wing this, but imagine having the opportunity to adopt someone's business like my own, where I've been in business for 30 years, and my book of business just automatically, year in and year out, spins off 35 to 50 transactions a year. That's an annual income of about $500,000 to $700,000. And you have the opportunity to exponentially grow your business by making that call and nurturing that relationship with that retiring agent. And you can do that not once, but you can do that multiple times as a younger agent looking to expand your business. And you can do that, you can expand your business exponentially. It's huge, huge. If I had the opportunity to read that book 20 years ago, that's exactly what I would have been doing. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's fantastic advice, and certainly an excellent book.
Yeah, and also it's a benefit to the retiring agent, right? Because then you're going to receive a residual income. And had you not built that database where you can actually hand this off to somebody and they can actually take over what you're doing and reap the benefit of that, you wouldn't have that opportunity if you hadn't built that database and nurtured it over all those years. So you've got to do that.
Yes, which goes back to all of the points that you just shared with us of getting that database put together, having the systems, nurturing, keeping in touch, and that is where your real money is. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So buy that book, read it.
Sounds good. I have read it. It's a great book. There are a couple of questions here in the chat room, and we don't have a lot of time, but I'll just ask real quick. One person asked, and I'm having a hard time finding it. Darn it. I don't have my glasses on, so it's hard to find it. Let's see. I apologize. Ben, I think you asked the question. If you wouldn't mind asking it again. Oh, Bridget had the comment. Friendly question, Blake. Who taught you how to use?
I was just reading that.
Offer like a beast.
What? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I mean, if I give a counter, well, first of all, in this marketplace, if you write an offer on one of my listings, likely you're going to get, there's going to be multiple offers, right? You're going to get a seller multiple counter offer. I mean, as protocol, I will do a seller multiple counter offer to just about any and every buyer. Well, I'll do it to every buyer that makes an offer on my listing, because I just feel that's fair. But of course, when I'm doing that, I'm countering into the contract those things that I mentioned earlier. From a buyer's agent's perspective, you'd probably want to write into the contract already, right? Shorten the contingency time frames, that kind of thing.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's
good. Does that make me a beast?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry, Bridget.
Jen asked, how much business do you get from your Ventana ad, or is it more for branding?
I've pulled back on print advertising, as you probably have noticed. When I broke off the partnership and I moved over to Troop, I went lean and mean, and then with Bob Harrison's counseling and wanting to move my price point up, I started to do more print marketing for just branding. And because I realized that, I was kind of going head to head with some other really powerful agents in our area. And we have really great agents in our area, by the way. And so I needed to be able to set myself apart. And now I've started to pull back on that a little bit. However, I am working with a client right now, and I asked him, I said, how did you get in touch with me? Because I always want to know where my business is coming from, and that's part of my database. He said, well, my grandmother saw your ad in the Ventana magazine and told me I should call you. So you never know, right?
Yeah, that's totally true. Funny. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Why don't we do you have any listings you want to pitch, since I've got you on camera? We want to get to our caravanning.
I have some coming soons, but I'm not sure if we can talk about those.
Are they in the coming soon status?
No.
Are they under contract?
I'm not sure if I can tell you that.
You shouldn't. All right.
I don't want to get into any more trouble than I'm already been in.
Oh, special penalties for you, Blake. So I don't.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there are really lovely comments and compliments in the chat room. In fact, Tammy, do you mind unmuting everybody so we can all say thank you to Blake for sharing? Yell out, you guys.
Blake, good job, Blake. Thank you.
Blake.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Ready
you,
to
Blake.
meet. Thanks.
Thanks, Blake.
I just muted myself. When you're the one talking, you're kind of in a void. You don't get to see all the faces and hear the voices, and it's hard to read the chat room. So that's why I want our guests to see your appreciation, and we really do appreciate you, Blake. Thank you for sharing so much and giving such great wisdom and nuggets for all of us.
Well, thank you, Jana, and thank you everyone for being here.
Very nice.
Blake, join this meeting every week. You're a great asset to it.
Thank you. I'll make an effort to do that. I'm just always afraid of saying something and getting an MLS fine. So I'm.
That's okay. We'll bail you out, Blake.
Yeah. Thanks, Anita.
All right. We're going to take you off spotlight.